Welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast, where we learn about some success stories and some not so successful stories. But either way, we learn. Each episode, we talk with successful real estate agents and vendors about things they have done to make them successful and some things they did that you might want to avoid. Join us for each episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin.
All right, listeners. Well, I have a good friend of mine here and probably no stranger to most of you guys. There might be 2 or 3 people out there who don't know who this gentleman is. The Mortgage Smith, Mr. John Smith. How you doing this morning, John?
Well, Preston, doing real well. And yourself?
Awesome. Yes, he is the Mortgage Smith, the Rock Smith. Always had the coolest T-shirts, the coolest swag. And if you contact him, he'll probably give you some of that swag if you ask for it. Awesome. Well, John is the Mortgage Smith. Obviously, contact him if you need a mortgage or advice, questions like that. But I don't think I would completely just put him in that box by himself. John, in my opinion, does a lot more than mortgages. So we'll get into all that. But John, for the 3 people out there who don't know who you are, give us a little background, who you are, where you from, and how'd you get to where you are?
Yeah, sure. So 22 years in the business. We'll keep it kind of short. 22 years in the business. Got into it just at the tail end of 1999. Started out in the state of Michigan, where I'm from. Went to school and grew up. And then when the whole kind of things kind of went sideways in 2009. At the time I was
in the business. I know. You're right.
Yeah. So I was 10 years in the business at that point. So even rode a wave before that, 10 years of success. And then my point is, worked at a small community bank at the time, and they just shut their department down, which at that point looked at my wife, and we decided let's move to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we didn't know a single person, but moved to Charlotte. So I've been here now for 12 years. I've been, ridiculously blessed to come to a town that I didn't know anybody, and been able to luckily have the success and clients and relationships that I've been able to foster. So that's kind of the short of it.
Awesome. What made you choose Charlotte specifically? I mean, lots of towns you could go to. What brought you to Charlotte specifically?
Actually, it's a great question, and I'll try to not go too long. So when looking at it, kind of 2009, and it was like, okay, Austin, Texas was really kind of, had some like growth. I mean, this is 2009. Every place was challenged, it had suffering,
right.
if you will. But, Austin, Texas, I think it was like Boulder, Colorado, and some places in North Carolina. And so we really kind of dialed it into the Raleigh area or Charlotte. And in short, we crossed off Austin, Texas. From being from Michigan, it seemed like, on another planet. It just seemed like a long ways away. Same thing with, Colorado. It just seemed like a long ways away from Michigan. But yet a lot of Midwesterners vacation on the East Coast. So it seemed more that. So the short is we actually originally decided Raleigh, there's a lot of universities. We just thought education never goes out of style. Let's move to Raleigh. And so that was really our original decision. Now here's the funny part of it. At least it is always funny to me, because it's really a part of now what we talk about. My point is my wife has excellent sense of direction, Preston. Excellent sense of direction. Excellent. And my point is, here we are in our hotel room. She looks out the window and she says, there's a Subway sandwich shop right across the street. I'm going to run across the street and get a sub. I said, okay, great. And, I'm there in the hotel, and we're just, checking out areas. And we thought, okay, it's going to be Raleigh, and we're going to get roots here in Raleigh. And she then left, and she came back a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half later for Subway sandwiches across the street.
Right.
What the short is, what happened is she got lost. And so she walks in, and she's really kind of steamed, and she said, we are not living in Raleigh, because she has excellent sense of direction. She says, I got lost. These roads are crazy here. All these medians push you around. I got on some point, John, I got so lost and so turned around. And we even had our hotel room like that one more night. And she said, get in the car. We're going to Charlotte. And then that's how we winded up and deciding to move to Charlotte, because my wife with excellent directional skills and driving got lost in Raleigh. So she said, not doing it.
I hear you, brother.
Kind of funny.
And I know this is your podcast. I don't want to like go talk too much, but I moved here from Kernersville. I'm from North Carolina, but Charlotte was like, it might as well be New York City for a kid from Kernersville. I mean, it doesn't feel that way now, but it did then. And oh my gosh, man, you talk about direction. I got on Queens Road crosses itself. So there's actually an intersection where it's Queens. And I'm like, what? It took me a while. You know how most cities are like on a grid of some type?
Yes.
I finally figured out Charlotte's more like a spider web as far as like it took me a while. I mean, I feel like I know the roads now, but boy, I imagine Raleigh and Charlotte are a little challenging if you move here, But well, I have to touch on one other point, and then we'll get down into some real estate. From Michigan, but I know for a fact you're a Buckeye. So how did that happen? And did you get in fights growing up over that? I mean, it sounds like you're in the Wolverine country there. How did you become a Buckeye? And you're pretty passionate Buckeye fan, by the way, I've seen.
Yeah. I'm Buckeye. Dad, the short answer is Dad went to Ohio State. So
Gotcha.
Dad went to Ohio State, graduated from Ohio State. So growing up, Dad got a job then in the state of Michigan, had a family. I grew up there, but we grew up in the Smith household watching the Buckeyes.
Right.
So I became a Buckeye fan. And even I went to University of Michigan. I went to school at University of Michigan.
Oh my gosh.
And I always say proudly wearing my scarlet and gray as a Buckeye fan.
Ooh, I bet you can fight. I bet you can fight.
No fights. I was always very popular.
It was almost like the boy named Sue if you wore Ohio State. Where he gave him that name to make him tough. You know what I mean? Like, you ever heard that song?
Yeah. I tell people when people kind of think that, and I say, actually, it wasn't too bad. And I was always very popular to be, because there had to like have John there at the game to like somebody to whatever. And so my point is, I said, I think you could get away with that in Ann Arbor, but I don't think you could get away with that in Columbus.
If you wore a Michigan thing. Yeah, that would be a good live TV, like what do they call it? Real TV, reality. That would be a good reality show. Follow somebody around Ann Arbor with an Ohio State sweatshirt on. Yep. All right, so you were at this small bank. Mm-hmm. And you guys moved your family to Charlotte, and love to hear a little bit. I know personally it wasn't easy in the beginning. I know you had some struggles. Sure. Love to talk about that, and then and then we're gonna move it forward and talk about some real estate and all that. But sure. Did you initially get into mortgages here, or did you do that at the community bank? What'd you do when you initially got here? Yeah,
like I said, I've been in the business for 22 years. My first 10 as a loan officer in Michigan. So,
okay. So you did do that there.
Yeah. Yep. 10 years there, got in 99 and went from 1999 to 2009 in Michigan. Like I said, at the tail end of my career in Michigan, it was 2009, worked at a small community bank in a great area. And it was a great gig. I mean, I was the senior loan officer. I was a senior loan officer, gosh, at the time, 30 years old, senior loan officer, corner office, had this great gig. And a lot of it as a community bank was very bank things. So, there's a lot of schmoozing customers and shaking hands and showing up to network events. And network events and meeting with the board and these kind of things. And then, but my point is, there's a small community bank and it couldn't weather the 2009 economic storm. Right. And so I remember, I very much remember sitting in a conference room for our monthly meeting, and the CEO walking in, Preston, and the CEO of the bank, even though it wasn't some big bank, but the CEO of the bank doesn't come to our monthly sales meetings.
Right. That's not good.
No, you knew something. And he ultimately just let everybody know that the whole department was shutting the whole mortgage department down. Ooh. And that was going
basically the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Right there on the spot. Went on unemployment, got laid off, everybody, and shut the whole department, went on unemployment. And so part of that story is, I drove home then at that point after the meeting, kind of took the rest of the day off, even though they were very kind, honestly, to say another month. It wasn't just 2, give us a month. and continue to pay. And they were really good. Anyhow, I came home, and part of the story, you know, at the time, as I'm a much younger man at that time, 30 year, or I don't know, you know, I guess 40 years old at that point, but much younger person. And my wife is at home, stay-at-home mother, hardest job in the business, right? Or hardest job not in the business, if you will. Came home and she looked at me and says, "You don't come home in the middle of the day. And what's up?" And I let her know the whole department got shut down, got laid off. And there's my wife with two young children. Now, you know, at that time, two young children, and both my children have special needs. My youngest son has Down syndrome. My older son is in the autism spectrum. And so mom's staying home trying to handle all that.
And so you got some financial worries.
Oh yeah,
Put it lightly.
Oh yeah. So it was dark times, man. It was dark times, but that was Michigan. And then that's where we said we at that point, then like we were like, the question really became like, what do you want to do? For the fact of, at that time, what was it, 2009? I mean, who's hiring, right? Who's hiring? Who's getting jobs? And I was making a very good income, supporting a family. And then at that point, you know, my options were like bank tellers. You know, I was 10 years in the banking business. And so the job opportunities weren't there, and nobody was really hiring. Obviously, anybody that went through 2008, 2009 knows the financial challenges and associated with that. So there I go from, at that time, you know, probably making about $10,000 a month, feeling pretty good and solid in terms of ability to provide for a family, to $632 a month on unemployment. You know, and things got tough. Therefore, at that time, you know, we packed up and we said, well, we can either stay here and try to make it where all my past clients and database, all of our friends, family here in Michigan, and still try to kind of fight through, or we can go for something else. We can just go for it. And we decided to go for it, and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I like to say a phrase, I knew so few people, I didn't even know a stranger.
Nice.
We didn't know a soul. And
awesome.
We showed up on the doorsteps of Charlotte, and it has been an insane blessing to us.
Awesome. Well, and I've known John pretty good while, and I know initially he struggled, and he did business, you know, did all the things everybody told him, you know, the coffee and all that. But and I know most of the people listening out there are real estate agents, and I know they're like, Preston, get us some stuff we can use. So that's where we're headed. John is very innovative in bringing value to real estate agents. And that, you know, what is it? Zig Ziglar says, you help enough people, you help yourself, or so, you know, you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. And it's very true. Yeah. So tell us all the things that now that you're doing to build your business, but more importantly, that helps real estate agents. But I want to back up first. I know you're kind of doing something new now, and I want to talk about that. But I know also you did something where you could help them with Facebook ads to get leads and stuff. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, and then also want to get into what you're kind of really working on now.
Yeah, well, like I said, so now I've been here in Charlotte 12 years, and to kind of give it, I mean, when I first got here, Preston, like I said, it's 2009, and I poured into video. When nobody was doing video, and I poured into video. I went all into video. And on day 1, too, when I showed up here to Charlotte we're broke, by the way, you know, broke is a joke, laid off, on fumes, credit cards maxed to the hill, 401k money's gone. I mean, we are broke, and the few dollars we have, I'm spending on coaching and my business to say this, and, you know, instead of even buying like food. And so even at that time, my point is went all in on video and started doing a lot of video. I even wrapped my vehicle for someone who didn't have, you know, 2 nickels to rub together. Here I'm spending money wrapping my vehicle, because I knew also I needed to make an impact. I needed to show up to Charlotte and look like I've been here and doing business and successful for a while. So I wrapped my vehicle in a car wrap with all mortgage stuff. Call me the Mortgage Smith, and my branding, to say when I pull up in front of a real estate office, I want them to remember it. And so my point is I did a lot of video in the beginning, a lot of video when nobody was doing it. And that attracted a lot of agents and business to me initially. And I started then doing classes as well too, which was nobody was doing that. I was getting offices in Help Me Out Preston, a real estate school in Uptown here.
Oh, Canopy. Well, but it was the CRA at that time.
Yeah. And I was like renting rooms and putting out information. They're helping you do it. And there was this budding thing that people were talking about a little bit called Facebook or something like that. And I get it wasn't as 10 or 11 years ago, wasn't necessarily, but it was still relatively newish, especially using it for business. So I went in all on that and have since. And then as things and success started happening and business started building and people got to be familiar with me, know that it was always very important to me that I brought a different level of value,
right?
Than just, I can help you with your mortgage client. I can help them get them to the closing table. I give a competitive rate. I always felt you had to bring something more. It was important.
Let's face it, there's a lot of mortgage brokers. There are. I mean, you had to do something.
a lot. Exactly. So I've, got real creative. My point is I hired coaches. I invested a lot into coaches. They direct, gave me a lot of good feedback. I've done things like write books, do, my own podcast of lead generation, really learned a lot and studied and spent a lot of money in lead generation and through those things. And so it's even led me to where I'm doing now, with what I call Relo Revolution. So, always trying to look for a better, that bring a better value, just take it to the next level. Because again, there's so many people just trying to do just the basics. That's always been a kind of core thing in me.
Sure. Well, that brings us to my next question. Tell us about Relo and what exactly, I know a little bit about it, but I don't know all about it and I don't want to steal your thunder. So tell us, pretend like I'm a real estate agent, tell me about it. Why should it, what is it? How would it help me?
Yeah, I can give you the 10-second and then we could talk a little bit more. So people ask me that 10 seconds, John, what is it? So Relo Revolution, and the idea is Relo, it's not relocation. And I've been told by real estate agents, well, pretty much in the real estate business, Relo means relocation, John, which I'm like, well, I get that, but I'm trying to work through that with my branding. And what I mean is the RE in Relo is real estate. And then the LO is loan officer. It's the combining real estate loan officer.
I did not know that. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's combining those aspects. And the short is my 10-second. Is when people say, well, what is Relo Revolution, John? I'm like, it's the ability to pay real estate agents a commission on their mortgage transaction. That's the short of it. So we've kind of cracked that code, if you will, and I'm happy to talk about more details of it. But basically have cracked that code of what agents thought they couldn't be done. Loan officers think it can't be done. So many people in the industry feel, you can't do that. A real estate agent can't get paid also on their buyer's mortgage transaction. And the reality is they can. And we've put that together, and we have a legal platform with RESPA attorneys that cost millions and millions of dollars to put that together, in which now we can compensate real estate agents.
Wow. Yeah, that would be, my mind goes immediately. I'm sure a lot of people, I'm like, is that a conflict or is there a RESPA thing? I mean, that would be my thing, but you've got, well, if I'm interested in that, I mean, what kind of time am I looking at? I mean, how would it take me from where I am now to get to where I'm pretending like I'm a real estate agent, where I could get paid? I mean, what's involved? I mean, I want to know,
Sure.
what are we talking about here? Time wise, money wise, what?
And those
what's
are all
that look like?
And those are all standard questions, but I like to, before I answer that question necessarily, and I don't keep on folks, but I mean, I like to illustrate it this way. I used to work for a company for actually quite a period of time, for many, many years, and they built their platform on paying the real estate firm. So they paying the real estate firm, and they did that with, rental agreements, inside offices, advertising agreements, MSA marketing service agreements. So they did that, and same thing when I worked with them, and I worked with this company when they were also very young, and they've grown now quite a bit. When I've worked this company, I started working with them. Everybody told me, oh, what you guys are doing is illegal. oh, what you guys are doing is you can't do, and you're going to get shut down and you're going to get in trouble. And I
Right.
heard all these things.
Right.
Well, my point is that company, their platform that they built, that they hired powerful attorneys in Washington, D.C., RESPA attorneys, and paid them millions and millions and millions of dollars to create that platform. Well, they're still doing that platform very successfully today. The company
Right.
I work for, AmeriFirst Financial, they have built a platform where it pays the individual agent. So the other model pays the top, and it kind of, you hope the money sprinkles down or drips down on the agents, but it's paying these people at the top. They get the dollars, and then maybe, hopefully, the idea is that the money trickles down. Our model that we were able to do the same, actually, the same attorneys we hired to build our platform for 2 years and spent millions and millions of dollars, in which we pay the agents directly. So in short, if they have a buyer or a transaction, let's say, Preston, it's a $400,000 purchase price. Their buyer that they're working with is putting $100,000 down and doing a $300,000 loan amount. We are paying a flat 0.5% to the real estate agent, which is $1,500. $1,500. It's a big chunk of money. And we're doing it. So I always say their platform is for the top, and you hope as the agent it sprinkles down to you. Ours is benefiting the individual agent, paying you. And so it's same thing, just like they have certain requirements and to make it compliant, ours as well too. And I actually even have 2 real estate instructors that I can't share their names once they completely board in it, but have already registered to join the platform. They vetted it and they have joined, and they will bring a lot of credibility to it to kind of dispel a lot of the thoughts on it. Because my 2 bottlenecks, Preston, and I'll let you jump back in. I've probably talked too much here, but the 2 bottlenecks is absolutely real estate agents. And I've got that from loan officers and real estate agents said, oh, paying a real estate agent is illegal. That's a RESPA violation. That's a compliant issue. And the truth is, it's not. It's not. They've been told that. And even these real estate instructors who have signed up for our platform and are going through our process to align with it has even said, one was even sweet enough to say, shame on me, John. And I was like, well, it's not your fault. What do you mean shame on you? And he said, as an instructor, I probably paint with too broad of a brush. And when I have a limited time to get information in, I just get through it quickly and I answer their questions. But now that I've seen your platform and I see how it's broken down, you are absolutely, it's 100% compliant. Because kind of the big reveal is what it is we get we encourage real estate agents to get licensed as loan officers. And then we employ them. And then we have to disclose. And we disclose to their buyers. And so that process gives them the ability to now get paid. You can have both your real estate and mortgage.
Now, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, at first I thought the same thing. Like, because there's a whole lot of stuff even with home inspection. Like, we can't get any kind of it's the same with everybody. All right, so that makes sense. So how do what's required of me? Do I have to get a 2-year degree to get that? I mean, what's required of me? I mean, I like what you say, I get $1,500, but how hard do I have to work for that $1,500? Because I got a lot of other stuff going on. Right.
Absolutely. And so it's actually, we do it because, of course, a problem that people say is, well, John, you don't want a bunch of real estate agents going, I don't want to do mortgages. But the thing is, we don't want you to either. So our team will take care of it. So it's really the same process a real estate agent
like a referral
doing today. Correct. But since they are the licensed loan officer and they are hired with the company, and we do disclose to their buyer that they will receive compensation on the mortgage side and that they're licensed, they have to then do 2 or 3 small parts of the application in terms of collecting some initial not the documentation, but initial information, I'd say. And by accomplishing those, they are then able to be compensated for that. And so as long as it's, again, they're licensed, they're hired, and it's disclosed, we're able to make that happen. we're able to make
Cool.
that happen. What I will though say, Preston, is even when people ask me, I'm always kind of reluctant because I like to walk through a person through it. So if I may, just real quick, because I don't want any agent, because the reality is when I do my presentations, Preston, one-on-one or with a group, I do my presentation, and the reality is they're all just chin dropped. They're just blown away, like paying real estate. And then I show them how it can be done. And they see legally, ethically, disclosure, everything's in place. And like, holy cow, I can't believe I've been missing out. In fact, one real estate agent said to me, Preston, she kind of like blurted out, exclaimed, because she was like upset. And she said, I can't believe I'm free Zillow for loan officers. And at first that really stunned me. And I was like, what? And she goes, I can't believe I'm free Zillow for loan officers, John. And I went, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And this is what I'm getting at, Preston. And I do this illustration in my presentation. And I said, as an agent, you do all the work, you attract the business, and I kind of paint the whole sales cycle. And then I say, and then once you get into contract, you're introducing these group of vendors, one of them being the loan officer. And instead of the loan officer is getting the most significant commission, quite frankly, maybe minus the real estate agent. And I said to that process, I said, is that really fair? You're doing all the work, you're doing all the effort, you're attracting all the business, and then you drop it in your favorite loan officer's hands, and they got 30 days and they close it and they get a pretty handsome commission. And I said, is that fair? And of course they all say, no, that's not fair. And I get it. And you go, that might be low hanging fruit, John. But then I said, great, but that's the model that you understand, right? And they go, yeah. And then I show them the Zillow model, Preston. I show them the Zillow model. And I said, is Zillow also the attractor of the business? They go, yeah. I go, are they also the creator of the business? I go, yeah. I go, are they also the cultivator of the business? They go, yeah. I'm like, so you and Zillow are basically the same thing of these attractors of the business, the one that brings the business in, that creates the business. Yeah. And I said, how come Zillow's model? And then I showed Zillow's model. I'm like, and I show all the people around Zillow. And I go, and who do they pay? And mine has arrows with dollar signs over Zillow. I said, so Zillow is the one that does all the work, attracting the business, and they get paid. You do all the work and attract the business, and your loan officer gets paid. Why is that? And my point is, once they see that, Preston, a light switch goes off and they really realize, wow. And again, where even one exclaimed, I can't believe I've been free Zillow for loan officers my entire career. And we go, yeah. And then I show them how they legally can put themselves in position to get compensated. So that's the Relo revolution. That's the platform. We're getting certainly, as you can understand, a high level of interest from real estate agents that want to come and learn more about it because, and I truly believe, because of the changes in the market, and we can get more into that, I truly believe that probably 50% of all real estate agents in the next 5 years are going to have dual license, both licenses.
Cool. So I think you told me one time, so and I get there's a lot more to this, but it's a 20-hour class, right? And then obviously I'm sure there's some sort of test you have to pass.
Yes.
Is there ongoing continuing ed requirements? Is that a hard thing to do or not? Or what's the continuing ed for a loan officer?
Yeah, it's 8 hours typically. It's 8 hours.
8 hours.
So, yeah.
Is that like in real estate, an elective and a update, or is it the same in loan or something?
Yeah. Every year they come out with the criteria that they want you to learn. And so you have like 2 choices and you choose them and you knock out your 8 hours. 6 hours is national and 2 hours is state specific. So North Carolina.
Are there any electives that satisfy both by any chance, the real estate and loan? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I think absolutely, like I said, in 5 years from now, that this will become a hybrid. I just think, again, here's the thing I always tell again, Preston, is that, see, real estate agents, they're already naturally attracting the business, right? They're already naturally attracting the mortgage business as well, too. That same buyer that's buying, unless they're paying cash, they're a mortgage business as well, too. And so my point is, this is business that's already naturally coming across the path of a real estate agent. So to go to your point, I think somewhere in the future, this will be a hybrid. It'll be a combo, and probably CE will be some kind of combination of that as well, too. We're not the only ones doing it. I'd like to say we are, but actually Quicken Loans is doing it as well, too. So I get they're my competition, but that's credibility. If the biggest mortgage company in the United States is also doing the same thing, it's because I truly believe this is the future of real estate.
Gotcha. Well, good stuff. And we'll talk. And I think, don't you have a webinar every week or every month or something that if people have more questions or want to know more about it?
Yeah, Preston. Yeah. Every Wednesday we do a webinar, www.relorevolution.com. They can register for it. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We do a webinar and we go through the presentation and we educate agents about it because the reality is that's my biggest bottleneck, or one of my biggest bottlenecks of the two is they just believe it can't be done. Right. They go, it's illegal. It can't be done.
I mean, when I first heard about it too, I was like, what the heck is he doing? It's like, I hope he does. I like him. He's my friend. I hope he doesn't get himself in trouble.
What's even interesting, I'll add a little color of the prior company that I worked for a long period of time. A loan officer friend of mine reached out to me. He said, hey, John, I've seen like your social media and your stuff you're doing. You're like, how in the world are you doing that? And of course, the same company who has a similar platform to ours, like I said, but they pay the top and they hope their dollars trickle down, while mine, we just pay directly to the agents. I said, we do it the same way you do it. And we hired actually the same attorneys to build our platform. And he just goes, oh, it's just interesting. My point is how quickly a person can realize, even though at one time, as I said, when I was a part of that company and that was their platform, people told me it's illegal. Yeah. You're breaking the law. You can't do it. You guys are going to get shut down. The CFPB, all these things. When I worked at that prior company, they said that. The CFPB. And my point is, my point is now 10 or 11 years later, that company is still very successful on that platform and everybody just accepts it as like, oh, it is. While then everybody criticized the content and said, oh, you can't do that. So my point is now we're just having to get through those, and that's just things stuck in people's heads.
Well, I had something kind of similar, John, where, I'm a licensed home inspector, and a home inspection is an inspection of 2 or more systems and a written report. That anybody who performs that has to be a licensed home inspector. The reason it's written that way is like an HVAC person can do an inspection on the HVAC, a furnace, they can inspect their thing. But if you ever do 2 or more components, then you have to be a home inspector. So, I mean, that's the law. So we started doing those walk and talks because of the market, the whole crazy,
Love it.
And you know how it goes. Your competitors, if you get some hate, it's always a competitor, oh, they even turned me into the board. He's doing something illegal. Is he doing something illegal, or are you jealous and you just want to use them as your police force? And I actually had to get a lawyer. And I said, look, first of all, we're only doing structure. We're only doing one system. We're not really, so basically walk and talk for anybody who's listening, if they're not familiar with it. It's basically when we go during a showing and we're just eyeball. I did it for you, John. We're just looking because, in this market, you're going to have to put down a high due diligence. And again, doesn't take the place of a home inspection. It's not as good as a full inspection, but it just lets you know if there's any major red flag. No, do not put a high due diligence down. But again, it's only one system, the structure, and there's no written report. So therefore, it's not a home inspection. But of course, the home inspection, the jealous people, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that. I shouldn't say that. All right, let me scratch that. People who you think you're doing something wrong, whatever. I might already edit that out. I don't know, because they'll probably listen to this podcast and be like, there's also a rule that you can't talk bad about another home inspector. And I'm just telling you the truth. But anyway, well, I feel your pain.
If I could jump in there, Preston, and I want to say a quote, and I love this quote. It's probably one of my favorite quotes. And the quote it's by Henry Ford. And the quote is,
I know it is, but I'm not going to spoil it. I know it. I know what you're going to say.
I love this. I mean, every time I hear it, just sends chills because it's revolutionary. And it says, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
I love that because my point is the car was something that was not even on people's radar. They didn't know what a car, if you would have said to them at that time, you want a car instead of a horse, they'd have gone, what's that word you said? They didn't even know what a car is. So my point is that it said, no, I just need faster, stronger horses.
They were terrified of it in the beginning
Exactly.
too.
So
They were terrified of it.
Things that are so revolutionary and changing the business for the better. And now, can we imagine a world without cars? I mean, that would be crazy if we all, like, somebody knocked on my door and said, here's your horseback. You got to take a horse. We're going to take your car. That would be insane. But my point is, people were so resistant to the idea of that. But yet, as I said, so I love that quote, because my point is, what you're talking about, Preston, is revolutionary. It's changing things. It's not a bad thing. And people, and we all resist change, and we have that. So what you were doing is just trying to take it next level. You were trying to enhance and improve. And what is people, they want to, oh no, they don't want you to have that competitive advantage, or they don't want you to think outside the box. Stick inside that box, Preston. Everybody's happy inside the box. Well, I'm not a box kind of guy, Preston. You know that. I am not at all. And so that's what the same thing is, this reload revolution, telling agents, like, you can get paid on your transaction. You probably missed out getting paid $10,000 a year for the last X amount of years that you've been in business. It's because someone said, just stick with getting a faster or stronger horse. And now somebody's saying, get a car. They go, oh, that's got to be illegal. That's scary. That can't be right. Everybody uses horses, John. It's like, no. So it's interesting.
To put that in perspective, that's also Steve Jobs' favorite quote as well.
I didn't know
Same
that.
thing. Awesome. So, I mean, the creator of Apple and Mac, and, I mean, how many people have iPhones? I actually have an Android, but my whole family has iPhones. Well, cool. Well, let's switch gears here for a minute, John, because I know there's a lot of real estate agents out there, varying levels of experience. And I know you're kind of a marketing guru. If I was a new agent, and I had coffee with you, John, and I'm, trying to go out there and get some business as a real estate agent. And I know you have your real estate license as well, and so does your wife. And you're elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder and belly to belly with agents all the time. What advice would you give a new agent, to get business? What advice would you tell them? And obviously they're probably limited. They're probably you back in 2009. What advice would you give that person?
Well, that's actually so easy for me to answer that question that I'm sure you'd say, well, they're already doing that for the most part. And my point is social media. Social media, Preston, if we really look at it, a lot of people have just assumed the idea of social media. Like I said, when I first moved here 12 years ago and I started doing stuff on Facebook, I was told by my company, Preston, that was illegal. I was told that it was illegal. You couldn't use it. There was all kinds of disclosure wrapped around that. You're not disclosing it properly if you're putting it on social media, and that's not the protocol, the way it's done. And so my point is, people now just know social media as much as putting on a pair of socks. I mean, it's just part of their normal everyday day. So to answer your question, being very active, social media, using video, I think is about as good as you can get in terms of a couple of things. One, it's free.
Yeah,
it's
just time. That's
free.
all.
It should cost money. The truth is, but it's free. So we have this incredible resource, which is our own billboard, and that's why, Preston, you have seen where before maybe social media, the successful agents, you had to be in the business 10 years. 12 years, 20 years, these veterans that built it over time to create this. Now, someone can get licensed a year ago, and a year later, by putting the right social media strategies in place, can be very successful. And I've seen it over and over. So the short answer is I would, if anybody said one thing, I would say it's doing video on social media. And I highly encourage go in on TikTok. And I think you've seen successes with TikTok as well. Facebook, I still use Facebook a lot, probably way more than I should, because it's just something I'm comfortable with. But TikTok, man, I think Facebook actually, it's just getting older and older. And the people that are getting older and older. So it's still a great resource, but TikTok is strong. And so,
I'm going to break.
Hello, I'm Bill Gallagher with Superior School of Real Estate, and I'm here with Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. Preston, I've always liked your style, especially those pants, and also I've been interested in the home inspection business for a long time.
Well, Bill, that's ironic. I've always admired your style, and I've always admired your ability to educate these fine folks for sometimes 4-8 hours a day. I wish that I could do what you do.
Hey Preston, wouldn't it be cool if we switched? Preston, we sure got what we wished for, buddy.
We sure did. And now that you're the expert, Bill, I mean, you are wearing the pants, and I'm the instructor and the educator. Tell us what Home Inspection Carolina is doing these days to make the home buying process easier for realtors and home buyers.
Well, Preston, all our home inspection reports now are online for the real estate agent and the client to review the report online and to be able to create a repair list basically online by either clicking repair, accept, monetary compensation, and once they prepare the request, they can then press email, text, or print right then.
You mean it's all automated, Bill?
Absolutely, we are high tech.
Wow. What else is Home Inspection Carolina doing different these days?
Well, Preston, we're training our home inspectors to be non-alarmist. We are training them to put things into perspective and to simplify the message for the homeowner.
Non-alarmist is key, Bill. You remember those days of the 100-page reports and those 3-ring binders that would just go on and on and on, la 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 la. Thank you for being a good non-alarmist.
And Preston, one more thing. We fix the small stuff for free. Do you remember when home inspectors always put those little nitpicky items on those reports?
Oh, bless their hearts.
Well, at Home Inspection Carolina, if we can fix it in 5 minutes or less, we do it for free. We're better with a caulk gun than a keyboard any day. We just fix it.
You mean there's no cost for this, Bill?
Preston, it's free.
Wow.
Well, Preston, these pants really are a catch.
Well, Bill, I've enjoyed wearing the suit, but I don't think I could wear it every day because I got to fix the small stuff for free, and I don't want to ruin a good suit.
Preston, it's been a lot of fun flipping the switch.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna break that down a little bit further to make it less intimidating. I know a lot of people, as soon as they hear TikTok, oh, I don't dance. I don't, I can't do that. You don't have to dance. If really what TikTok is, if you boil it down, it's short video. It can be informative, whatever. If I had to say that what TikTok really is, it's short video. Used to be a minute or less. Now you can go 3 minutes. But you better be compelling because the attention span. So, and it's instead of, if you do YouTube, you better 16:9. This is 9:16. It's just turned up the other way. So you want the full page because that's the way it's set up. So what's funny is I have our guys do videos and I say, I want it both ways. I want it this way and I want it this way. And when you go this way, get to the point quick. In the YouTube video, which is the other way, I've always been told, 2 minutes, you can go a little bit longer in your explanation and stuff because most people watch a YouTube video. I mean, I go to YouTube every day. How to something today, I don't know, how to take better photographs at night. And then I see all the videos and I'm looking for the shortest one, 3 minutes. All right, that's my video.
Right.
I don't know what's that one that's 48 minutes.
Right.
But TikTok is just short form, get to the point. And I've seen people really successful on TikTok that do nothing more than talk. They just give tips. And if you're a real estate agent, I mean, think about who your market is. It's people buying a home, maybe renting now. So, just off the cuff of the head, I can think of 3 mistakes first-time home buyers make. Boom, 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 and get them out quick. And, if I'm a potential home buyer, I'm hanging in there. All right, I don't want to make those mistakes. All kinds of stuff. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to go on and on. But
I mean,
but
doubt.
I think a lot of people are intimidated by TikTok, and they shouldn't be.
Oh. Yeah, I agree. I could give, in terms of your question of what's the one thing. So, I mean, you could add on to it, give strategies, give extra kind of information and color like you were just doing there, Preston. But I mean, if a person said just one thing, John, I'd be like, really go in on social media and video on social media. Don't just do images, video and social media. And particularly TikTok, I think is very hot.
I agree. And you can repurpose some of that stuff to Instagram stories or stuff like that. But again, that and again, if you want to know this, just like we said, go to YouTube, how to make good, how to just start off with those 2 words.
Right. So there's always
whatever.
So there's always a learning curve, right? There's always a learning curve. And so actually starting TikTok, that's where I went. Went to YouTube and watched the videos. And within a couple hours, I was able to then put a TikTok out there, and then you build on that. So,
and it's crazy. I mean, not to get too far in the weeds here, but I'm squirrel. I had this talk with my daughter the other day. I hate to say this, I'm spending all this money for them to go to college, but I'm not spending near as much as, remember, because we're roughly the same age. Remember, the whole mindset was go to college, go to a good college, get a good degree, and you'll get a good job.
Yep.
Tell me what it is, John. And this is the question I pose to my kids. What is it that's inside those ivory covered, ivy hall walls and those mahogany things that bow tie? I don't mean to pick on it, but or ponytail, whatever eccentric professor can say that you can't find on YouTube today. Tell me, what is, and if you want to spend $100,000 to walk through those aisles, or you can go on YouTube, even if you wanted to world history, if you're going to be, I don't want to get to, and I'm not, but, used to the information was centralized and, only these people had the knowledge. Now the knowledge is decentralized, man. You can find,
Well, Preston, I think to kind of get back, it's what you're saying, I think is a great parallel to real estate. I really, truly do. Because what you're talking about is what was once a foundational thing. You go to school and you work hard and you get a job and you get grades and you this and this. And there was a spring, and that was the line of thought. Remember, Preston? And I went to college, you went to college, and I'm not saying anything about whatever, but my point is, the reality is the people that you went to school with that did not go to college, you almost was like, oh boy, what are they going to wind up doing? And there was this thought that if you didn't go to college, because there was this, my point is you came out of college with this kind of preferential opportunities. More doors were open. My dad always said, oh, well, you'll have more doors and opportunities in front of you. Well, my point is now that was so foundational, that thought, that was this. And today, Preston, of what you just said, you used the word decentralized. That's the same thing in real estate. It is not like it was 10 years ago. I think coronavirus has made a huge push forward. And it's so interesting when coronavirus came and everybody was up in arms, like you can't do real estate. What they call it? What was the word? Needed people. What was it?
Oh, essential.
Thank you. Essential. Essential in age, like we're essential in this and this and all this. And people thought, agents thought it's going to suppress them. It's going to take them out. It's harming them. And that was the initial response. And everybody's complaining about that. And then agents out of nowhere of every age started doing more social media and doing video and getting comfortable with different mediums and doing walkthroughs with homes. And this is my point is it has changed the game. And so what you're talking about is something that was so institutionalized and foundational as universities and the education system. Now we question that. And so I think, again, to parallel that with real estate is the same thing with real estate. If people aren't thinking there's massive change going on, you are mistaken. You are missing it. And I get there can people still in the business for 20, 30 years that say, I don't do any social media. Great. That's fine. But the reality is you're probably at the end of your career and will, maybe the financially you already have things established, but it's parlayed new people that have 1 year in the business have gone to heights. There is new opportunity. And so my point is it's important to stay focused on that because with iBuyers and everything, man, talk about the word decentralized. It is decentralized and there is massive change and evolution going on in the real estate business. So in the next couple of years, people better be ready to pivot.
No, I totally agree. I think and that was actually one of my questions, but you kind of answered it. It was going to be like, how do you think COVID has changed the way we do business? But you hit on it right there. I think we were kind of headed that way anyway, more, but COVID, I think, just accelerated it. I mean, let me give you a case in point, like a Zoom or a video conference call pre-COVID. I mean, especially we had actually been doing them in our business, but I would probably say less than 50% of the American population had done a Zoom pre-COVID. I'll just step out there and say my mom had never done it. I mean, and probably nobody in her age group. I mean, I love my mom, but it's just not something they grew up with, right? And it was something they were, a lot of people aren't comfortable, but then this kind of forced it. And, now it's like, it's not so bad. They just click on that link, mom, just click on that link, but it made a lot of things that were kind of out there commonplace and a lot more comfortable. But I also think there's something to be said for, I took a real estate update one time where it talked about like the different generations, like there was Generation X, Generation Z, I forget what, millennials, I forget, I guess, what is it, every how many years it's a new generation. And I do think you need to be doing something in your business to reach each one of those generations, unless you are just specializing towards one. But you can't scoff at, whatever you're doing to get the youngest generation, I guess, which is Y now or whatever. At some point, depending on how long you're going to be in the business, then that's going to be like the middle and you know what I mean? Like, sure. I like my kids don't even know what a yellow pages is. Right. I made a reference to that the other day. They had no clue. What is Yellow Pages? Right. And man, when I first got into business, that was a big deal. I mean, that was a big deal. It's still around. I think there's a few people maybe who still use it, but you got to be making efforts on the language or how to. But you better pay attention to that young one and don't scoff at it. Because, my kids, because I pay attention, Gary Vaynerchuk says this. I mean, you laugh at what 14-year-old girls are doing now, but that's usually the first that eventually becomes 30-year-old buyers. Right. Absolutely. Because everybody said that about TikTok and Musical.ly and all that. And now that's pretty common. But anyway, having said that, Gary Vaynerchuk is a great resource for anybody out there. If you want to know, just if you got the kiddos in the car, you may want to turn it down. He'll drop some F-bombs. Although, he's toned it down a lot recently. If you listen to his older stuff, I mean, it's like every other word. I remember the first time somebody told me I need to listen to Gary Vee, I couldn't do it. I mean, I got a little way. I was like, man, this guy says the F-bomb left and right. Yeah. But he gives good content. And honestly, I don't know if he's mellowed in his old age. I thought about that the other day. I was listening to one. I was like, I don't think he's dropped it once in this entire podcast. And used to be all the time. But anyway, I digress. Sorry. And we're getting up against the hour here. Question I always ask, John. I sponsor a lot of real estate CE classes. Usually it's new. Sometimes it's agents coming from another state and they've got to do this or whatever. But a lot of times it's brand new agents. And I've been doing this like 20 years or something. In every class, like I'll meet a real estate star, rock star years later. Like, oh yeah, I remember you were in that class. And then, I'll meet somebody selling insurance and I remember you were in that class. So my point is, in every group, there'll be 75 or 80. There'll be a couple of rock stars, but there's a lot of people who don't make it in real estate. They wash out for whatever reason. So my question has always been, because you've been around a while too, do you think there's a secret sauce to the people that last and, not only survive, but thrive in this business? I mean, what's the difference between those people who survive and thrive versus the people who wash out, I guess?
Yeah, I have an answer. And at first it's going to sound a little cliche, but I'll kind of give some explanation to it. But it all stemmed down to your why. And again, that's cliche. Everybody's like, oh, I've heard that you got to have your why, And the reality is it's even interesting when people, kind of ask, well, what's your why? So in the business sense, what's your why? And a lot of people will say, my kids or my family is my why. And I don't want to dismiss it and say it's not a person's, But man, here's the thing, Preston. Push come to shove, even if I have to be a ditch digger, and nothing against ditch diggers, just making example. If I have to dig graves, and nothing against grave digger, my point is whatever I have to do, I'm going to take care of my kids. It doesn't have to be real estate. So my point is my why is bigger than that. I don't have to have a why my kids are doing. My why is bigger than that. So I think what you're talking about is the people that do say, oh, my kids, this is my why, this, man, dig deeper. The ones that dig deeper, the ones that have a chip on their shoulder. Somebody said, you aren't going to make it, Preston. Someone said, you can't attain those goals. Someone said, you can't do this. And that's what does drive me. So I get it, man. You want to push your success, get some haters. Haters will drive you. They do me. And I used to struggle with that, Preston. I used to struggle with that. And I've come to realize it's my strength and it's my weakness. It absolutely is. I wear it on my sleeve. I wear it raw. I straightforward. I tell people the way it is, and open and transparent about it, whether it serves me well or not. But I've did this. So to get back to your question, man, ask that deeper level of why. And the reality is the ones that like Gary Vaynerchuk, he has a story, right? My story, which, we kind of touched on it earlier, but I mean, and I don't want to get down into again, but I mean, when you have a wife and kids at home and 2 children with special needs, and you lose your job, and all of a sudden you go to making pretty darn good money to $600 a month on unemployment, and the rails are coming off. And at that time I was a younger person. And this is my point is that brings into a lot of stress and pain into a world, a lot of darkness. I call it George Bailey. Even every year, George Bailey, It's a Wonderful Life. I cry, man. I cry. I cry because I relate so much to it. I mean, at that time in my life, there was times I wanted my life to end. It was such a difficult, and that brings strain to a marriage as well too. My wife and I, we were on the brink of divorce, tearing apart at a family. These things bring into. So what I'm getting at, and luckily same wife, same kids today. And you know what? My point is now to answer your question, that is what's driven me, Preston. I came down here where I knew so few people. I didn't even know a stranger. I knew no one. And my back was up against the wall, and adversity breeds creativity. When you are pushed into a corner, you're either going to crumble in that corner or you're going to come out with something else. So to go to your question, what's that secret sauce? What's that thing? The people that you see in a room of 100 people and you go, man, there might be 90 that aren't even in the business anymore. And we're going to see 10 standing in 5 years. Those people probably have that secret sauce. They probably have a story that you just don't know about. Something is driving them. Their why is deeper than just my kids, my family. They got a why because they got something to prove. And that's my answer.
Awesome.
The people that have it, I think those are the ones that fight. They're fighters.
Yeah, I concur with that. I've been in a lot of different home inspection groups and stuff, and a lot of them are successful, and some people come in and they're not. And one thing I hear, like the mindset or whatever, like somebody's trying this or they're trying that or they this or that and the other, and I'm just like, dude, I will not let this business fail. I will not. I will put this thing on my back, and I will, and if I have to deliver pizzas at night to make the ends meet, I will. I will not let it fail. Right. And that's the mindset. I mean, I don't care what the economy is. I don't care who the president is. I don't care what the politics are. I don't care what the taxes are. I will not let it fail. But it's all on me. And again, and I didn't quite have, and I'm not trying to hijack your story. I didn't quite have the dramatic, but same thing, man. Same thing. Like people telling, redneck, a little slow, talk slow, and I was like the dumbest kid in the smartest classes, if that makes sense. Like I got moved up to the smartest class, but I was like the dumbest kid in the smartest classes, and like I got a lot of that, I'm like, all right. It drives me too. It's almost, that Michael Jordan it's kind of like that too. Like somebody who disses them, that sort of thing. So
If if you've been handed it, and the reality is, which is a thing that even triggers me in terms of, just like anything, I get jealous of other people or different things. I'm no perfect or whatever. My point is, no doubt there's people in the business that the business has been handed to them. Their business has been bought and paid. And it triggers me in terms of like, yeah, they've had success and people look at them as some success. And the reality is, if people really knew their business was supported and bought and paid by someone else. And you know what? That's my thing that I got to work through. But my point is, just like you said, it can propel you and push you. So
yeah,
that's
what word triggers me. I mean, and my wife gets mad at me because, I was in a trailer till I was 8th grade or whatever. My wife comes from a little bit better socioeconomic situation than me. But the word that triggers me when somebody says, Preston, you're so lucky. What?
Just sends shivers on my spine just hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I know, it's kind of like that picture of the iceberg. Somebody just say, John, you're so lucky. And it's almost like, but I realize my wife, I have to they didn't mean it the way I take it.
Right.
Because I almost take that as an insult.
Right.
Let me tell you about being lucky and riding the bus when you live in the trailer park and you get picked on because you live in the trailer park and you're a little slow and you didn't learn to read as fast as everybody else. I'm lucky. All right.
That's my point, Preston. You got a why, and people have a story. So to go to your answer, your question is, the people that seem to stand, they've had some adversity that they've had to go through. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't have adversity. They do. And they have their own stories. But man, people that wear it on their sleeve, have that chip on their shoulder. Like you said, you'll deliver pizzas, man. You ain't going to let anybody knock that chip off your shoulder.
Right. And you know what? You don't have to be. And I know like your story and my story, mine may not be quite as extreme as yours, but it is humble beginnings, adversity. There are people who don't come from humble beginnings and adversity that can, I don't want to say hack, but I can't think of a better word, that same hunger. Sure. I do meet a lot of ultra successful people that do, if you talk about a common thread, there is sort of that hunger or that want to prove, somebody's told them at some point they're not good enough, fast enough, strong enough, smart enough. And but I have met people who do actually come from, you don't have to come from humble beginnings to get it. I mean, somehow they developed it or something. I mean, I don't know.
Probably somebody said, it's not yours, it's someone else's, and you got handed it to this. My point is, I call it that chip. It's that chip on their shoulder. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to get pizzas if I have to. I mean, when adversity breeds creativity, Preston. So when you feel, whoever that is, whatever socioeconomic or whatever your story is, man, if you had that adversity, that's what pushes you. When times are good, we all sit back, kind of fat sometimes. Even, I go, hey, this is good. I can kind of sit back and relax. And then I got to remind myself, John, get some haters, because if it gets slow, man, get some haters, man. Haters will propel you.
Well, and I tell my wife, I'm like, I've eaten my share of ramen noodles. I like ramen noodles. I've been poor. I know how to be poor. So I'm done. Well, awesome, John. Well, we're up against the hour here, and I know you got lots of stuff to do. Tell all the listeners out there again how they can follow you if they have questions. And we didn't get into a lot of mortgage stuff, but I'm sure you could help them with that if they just had, looking to get a loan, want to know what the interest rates are doing. If they've got somebody with a low credit score, because I don't know this for sure, but I know the ones that do the heavy advertising, I hear that, that's great if you got a 750 credit score. Can you help people out, who have a 500 or 600 credit score or something, all that stuff. I'm sure you can help them out. I would think. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to give a quick credit to all loan officers actually in the business, because I think overall, especially ones that I know in the greater Charlotte area, I think overall do a fantastic job. I feel they really do. I know so many great loan officers that I just think just do an amazing job. And I know loan officers plenty. Sometimes I love it when I get the compliment. I'm sure you do too, Preston, of going, "Oh, you're great, John. You're the best." And I go, and I tell people now, because I've been in the business long enough and old, I go, "I'm not the best in the business. I'm lucky to be even the top half because I really know some incredible people." So my point is, in terms of the mortgage aspects of it, for the most part, we all do kind of the same thing. There's always these portfolio loans that we kind of do, and interest rate wise, everybody's kind of in the same ballpark as well too. So, whatever buddy you're working with as a loan officer, if you've heard enough about them, they're probably a great resource. So that's kind of my overall quick 30 seconds worth.
Cool. Well, how do they find out more about you, follow up with you, find out more about your relo, or just talk to you? How can they get in touch with you or follow you?
Yeah, the best way is in terms of, still Facebook is my main mode and have my biggest audience. So a person can John the Mortgage Smith or John Smith, but of course with the name like John Smith, that can be tough sometimes. So I'll give my phone number and a person can always text me. My phone number is 704-299-5507. Again, that's 704-299-5507. You can text me. Again, send me a message, send me a quick text message. If anybody does want to chat with me, and I'd be happy to chat, have a cup of coffee.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate all the value you bring out there and, helping the real estate, helping the industry, because I'm in the industry too. And it drives everything. I mean, the loan, the house, the inspection, the warranties, the measuring, all of it. If everybody's got their part, that the whole thing couldn't exist without that part. And I appreciate it, brother.
Well, I appreciate you, Preston. I'd be remiss if I got off your podcast without saying you are a leader in the business, Preston. There is no doubt about it. And I tell you what, whenever anything in the future, man, at Canopy, if you're not one of the first statues that built in front of that, Preston, and that is the truth, man, that is not whatever, that this industry owes you a great, great gratitude, Preston. I know it's your podcast and you want to, lift me up, and I appreciate it. But I tell you what, Preston, thank you, man. Honestly, in my heart of hearts, you are a leader among leaders in the real estate overall community for what you bring and the value you bring and your transparency and how you care. So thank you, Preston.
Awesome. Well, I'm obviously flattered and thank you very much. My only request would be that if there is a statue that somehow, most statues are monochromatic or what, just one color. Somehow they make the pants in color.
You got it.
It's my only request. I could be monolithic, but somehow figure out a way to make those pants in color. Anyway, Absolutely. John, thank you so much, brother.
You bet. Thanks, Preston.
You've been listening to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin. Join us on the next episode where we'll be talking to a successful agent or vendor about the right things to do and the wrong things you should avoid. Join us on the next episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast.